Great, cool. So welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight for the panel talk show called Filtering the Filters. My name's 𝗦𝗽 𝗵𝗍𝗶, and I'm a curator and I'm founder of 𝗏𝗏visions. And 𝗏𝗏visions is a platform that supports and promotes new media artists working at the intersection of art, technology and culture. And I'm specifically interested in how marginalized groups of people use technology to exhibit art in untraditional spaces outside of the white cube. And I'm really excited to have you join us here this evening as part of the Rainbow's End programme, which is co-curated with Fabian from Creative Coding Utrecht, who's also here this evening as well. And so I'd first like to introduce some of these amazing artists that I had the pleasure to share and introduce you to their practice and their work. So I'm just going to give a brief introduction to everyone, and then I will hand over to them for them to talk about some of the work that they have in the exhibition, and also some of the themes within this intriguing space that we find ourselves, where filters and augmented reality becomes a real ubiquitous language or semantics that we have, adopted to these days. And I think, as we all know, like at the moment, it feels like augmented reality can exist anywhere and in any time, as long as there's an internet connection. Instead of one artwork existing in a physical location, it can be made in many places at once. So this feels like a sort of decentralized experience of art that disrupts these constructions of traditional space for experience art, like in a museum or so forth. And I think augmented reality artists or people working with new media art can really share their work with a global audience, and users can experience the art in whichever place or time they choose. And so I think it's really interesting to see the different approaches that each of these artists have that use augmented realities and filters, and create playful and reality altering filters to make you think about the politics and the social impact of these social media platforms that a lot of them exist on. So I'd first like to introduce Anna Engelhardt. Is a media artist and researcher based in London. Her main interests are decolonial politics of algorithmic and logistical infrastructures in post-Soviet space, being concerned with the infrastructure as a form of politics. She develops her practice through writing and manufacturing digital infrastructures. Anna engages her background in critical theory to provide conceptual frameworks for her projects, conducting their investigations through the construction of virtual landscapes, materialized as online platforms, and 3D computer graphics. Also here this evening is Medina 𝗏𝗏𝗍𝗍𝗶, born in 2001 in independent Kazakhstan. In their artistic practice, Medina finds themselves in the process of exploring ironic and exaggerated political realities where internet, new algorithmic superstructures and post-totalitarian regimes are swirling the whirlpool of glocalization, where Soviet stiffness, digital revolution and the revival of national identity are going together like a 3-in-1 product sold at the supermarket. Through their artworks and research, Medina wishes to find a sustainable frequency of oscillation between these three poles. Next up is Sibeliu Bustos. Their practice as research engages with the changing conceptualizations of identity, performativity and pictorial communication, and the propagation of behavioral patterns in the digital age. It observes the challenges to perception and cognition under a white supremacist, cis heteronormative patriarchal psyche, turbo-powered by platform capitalism, and explores how counter-discourses that challenge dominant narratives around socio-political issues can be embedded or used as a form of resistance against the propagation of algorithmic behavior, both IRL and in the digital sphere. Next up is Rosa Menkman. Rosa Menkman is a Dutch artist, educator and researcher of resolutions. Menkman's work focuses on noise artifacts that result from accidents in both analog and digital media, such as glitch and encoding and feedback artifacts. The artifacts resulting from these accidents can facilitate an important insight into the otherwise obscure alchemy of standardization via resolutions. And last but not least, I'd like to introduce Sibeliu, who is an Amsterdam-based designer and filmmaker known for her innovative use of organic materials, vibrant colours and emotive sounds, which she uses to create immersive augmented reality experiences. She works cross-disciplinary to create interactive digital headpieces that flow organically with the user's head. She's the founder and creator of Video Orbit Studio, and an all-female interactive design agency based in Amsterdam. So welcome, everybody.
Thanks, Eva.
Oh, it's lovely to see you all. So it's an absolute pleasure, even though it is virtually, to see you, and thank you for being here. I'd love to, I guess, start with maybe each of you could just introduce a bit about your practice and the project that you have exhibited at Rainbow's End. I don't know who would like to go first. Maybe Anna, would you like to start?
Yeah, sure. I wanted maybe to start with introducing why I work with filters in general, and then switch to the project I have in the Rainbow's End exhibition. So my practice with filters started with the initial fact that because of the Russian political landscape, I have to do my political work anonymously. So by creating a digital alias, I immediately encountered the problem that I can't give lectures, seminars, and classes with my real face, and actually having a face is very important, and having visual contact is important. So the facial filters came for me as a solution or as a fix for this ambiguity of being a person, but being an anonymous person and being able to present myself publicly. And then the project that I present with that I present in the exhibition is named Machinic Infrastructures of Truth. It's a web platform that investigates the politics of online verification systems. Probably all of you have seen the blue verification ticks. So having this like history of myself being a fake person, but at the same time quite real, I was interested in like how blue tick economy works and what blue ticks on social networks essentially represent, and as a cultural phenomenon. Because as a researcher, I'm interested in this self-evident objects in social media, like likes or shares, that are supposed to be self-evident. So when IT presents to us something that is so self-evident as a blue tick, it's interesting to see like how it's been sold on dark web and how it actually becomes a currency.
Thank you, Anna. Medina, did you want to add anything too? Because you're both collaborators on this project, offering kind of I guess different skill sets. I know that a lot of the project is based on your, like, I guess your sort of intermittent responses to the text and also this research. And then Medina, you mentioned that you sort of been as well, you kind of you're using filters to really, for, you know, as cyber warriors, to, you know, to kind of fight against the system. And you also obviously recognize that you have to be under the radar with your sort of digital alliances. Is there anything you'd like to add to that?
Yes, with Anna, we created in collaboration 9 filters. 2 of them are available in Snap Camera, and 7 of them were created for Instagram and Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
I can show them, and also maybe I wanted to tell you more about my practice also, artistic and activist. Maybe I could ask Anna if you can share the screen with our filters placed on the site, or I can open it.
Just give me a second. Yeah, so essentially the idea between our collaboration was to see the differences between various platforms approaching filters, and how this idea of like disguising your face or hiding your face behind some other cool looking entity can be perceived differently on Snap Camera for Zoom meetings and Instagram filters. Also, Medina tried to do a filter on TikTok.
Yes, about TikTok, there is a platform that can be used for creating filters for TikTok, and it's very difficult to download the software due to geographic restrictions. For example, for people from or located on the territory of Central Asia and Russia, it is impossible to create filters which can always carry political meaning. For example, filters in support, maybe some filters in support of Uyghurs in the terms of political re-education in China on this Chinese platform such as TikTok. I think this suggests that filters can be considered as a powerful political tool because of the information delivery method. It's quick and easy to use, and filters are primarily directly involved in the immediate and dissemination of information. So I think they can have a political potential. I can share with you some filters that I made in support of political prisoners or political ecological movements in Kazakhstan.
Yes, please. Yes, I think we'd like to see.
I don't know if I can share the screen now. I don't see the button that allows me to do that.
I think, let me just check if Annalinda can make you host, perhaps, again.
Yes, I see that. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you.
For example, this filter, last summer I made a filter that collected more than 150,000 interactions. It was a filter in support of my friend 𝗦𝗽𝗏𝗵𝗿𝗹𝗶, who was convicted under a criminal article causing massive physical and psychological harm to a police officer for brushing off a police cap and calling the police vile cops. She faced 3 years in prison, but civil society came to her defense, and her sister Aisha started the protest 𝗕𝗘𝗵𝗿𝗹𝗶 movement. 𝗕𝗘𝗵 is a Kazakh patchwork that is made from many small squares of fabric as a symbol of the fact that activism is a collective action, that we can achieve compliance with our requirements by only by uniting. So I made a filter that people used to express their solidarity and protest with it. This filter consisted of a slogan with the words "Freedom for Asia" and "Asia is us" in 3 languages and different 𝗕𝗘𝗵𝗿𝗹𝗶 to choose from. I will show you other filters really quickly. This filter, "My Body is AR Gauge," is a filter about police brutality, the connection between protest movements and the formation of values at the young age in the orbitofrontal cortex, and the case of Phineas Gage, who damaged this particular place. This is about the suppression of use in post-Soviet space and use in very lively plastic processes in the orbitofrontal cortex, and the way the police brutality seals this image in us. Their measures themselves makes us protest, and also it is. I think this is important in terms of what is happening right now in Russia. Students, for people who started student union and student movement and was sharing information with other students and supported political prisoners, is now arrested in Russia and face 2 months they can't go out of their houses and they can't communicate with anybody, and they face 3 years in prison also. This filter right here, I made it on the day the Kazakh political activist 𝗦𝗽𝗲𝗍𝗶 died due to torture in prison. 10 years earlier, during his criminal trial, the prosecutor had called 𝗦𝗽𝗏 the Soviet expression "enemy of the people," which was used by NKVD workers in relation to repressed and politically persecuted people in 30s in the Soviet Union. Therefore, in the sign of solidarity with 𝗦𝗽𝗏 and in order to support the 𝗦𝗽𝗏𝗍𝗵 family, I made a filter with which everyone could check how many % he is an enemy of the people. This filter signifies that all of us, activists, artists, brave people who expose existing discriminatory networks, are enemies of the people in the eyes of corrupt government. This is the last filter that I wanted to show. This filter was made in defense of 𝗘𝗃𝗃. It is a national natural park in Kazakhstan, in Almaty, where I'm from. They wanted to start building cottages for high-ranking officials, but civil society quickly cooperated and fought back. This filter was made to draw attention to the problem of building and was supported by many activists, and therefore there started a movement, Save 𝗘𝗃𝗃, and people could use it to show their solidarity. And so yes, thank you.
Thank you, Medina. That was it's a lot to take in. It's quite harrowing to, I think, as things that that have happened, and yeah, quite harrowing. I'd like to now just I think maybe who would like to go on next, and I think just to also make it clear to to everyone here that we will be having if any of these issues that anyone wants to discuss later on, we can open it up and we can have a bigger discussion after everyone's introduced their work. And Rosa actually suggested if anyone has a specific question or thing that they want to bring up, they can put just an A+ in the chat. So, and then it will alert me that there's a question that they'd like me to pose. Great. So who'd like to go next? Sibeliu?
I thought you were gonna come.
It's because you're like on my screen, you're like right in the middle.
But it makes sense, I guess.
Yeah.
Just it's a good crossover in the sense that.
Well, societal sort of malware as well, I think, is a lot of stuff that you kind of explore, and this idea of deprogramming. So it's a nice segue into what you're doing with filters.
Yeah, and using the filters, like the first filters I made, they were also like instrumental, social political instruments, for social sculpture, let's say. I mean, I'm still absorbing everything that Anna and Medina have been talking about, because it's incredibly powerful, and it's really concerning all of the issues that they bring up, So I'm just like, ooh. And I'm really thankful that you have them here on this panel, and that this is getting the visibility that it needs, But yeah, so the first filters I did was actually, also I made some notes here from the conversation so that we can talk more later from what Anna and Medina brought up so far. But the first filter I made was also like, as a tool, like at the time I was just like, oh, this can be really good. For example, for self-affirmation for trans people and for non-binary people. So the first filter I did was just they, them. Very simple, like not about any pyrotechnics or anything, like just more like what does it do with society? Because I was tired, and I am perma-tired of correcting pronouns, my pronouns. And so I just wanted to give a tool like that. It was a bit of a joke, at the time. Like, I wish I could just tattoo it on my face at some point. But then that filter grew into the other one called Everybody Valid, which allows the experiencer to choose their pronoun, the one that they align with, on their face, so to self-affirm. And when you raise your eyebrows, it displays queerness has no specific aesthetics and gender has no specific aesthetics, because a lot of the problem to do with transphobia and also misogyny and femphobia stem a lot from just how we came like it through culture for a long time, how we came to understand expressions of gender and just kind of created these boxes. So what I figured is, because also people tag you, right? Especially at the beta times, or just people would tag you when they use your filter. And I realized that I could create a map also of people's expressions. So oh my gosh. Oh my god, my allergies like hitting. And this really beautiful picture started painting itself as people were no longer just viewers of an art piece. They were participating, and and that piece was given as an empowerment tool. And in turn, like this picture that was painted was suddenly you had people with she, her pronouns that wouldn't necessarily fit this cis and trans, you know, people of she, her pronouns that wouldn't fit into what the society came to decide what a femme is supposed to look like, or he, him, and she, they, he, they, them. And this then built up to the piece I did for the Science Gallery in London, which is a piece that is here for 𝗵𝗿𝗀𝗶𝗶 and for this conversation, where I just was thinking about just the gaze, because there in the show, actually I can show, I'm going to just share the screen really quick to show this. Chrome tab. Okay, so this is the installation. Let me see if it's already showing. It's loading up. So you would come through this this hallway in chroma green, which are colors that are all over my practice, that and mirrors and foam and latex, and through this explosion of clothes that I've been shedding as I've been in my process of forever transitioning as a non-binary person, all like sewn together, cut apart, dipped in latex and tattooed, and there's phone handles to them as well. And they are also, I like working with clothes and making them into a body, because when you start when you transition, the first thing that you start playing with, it's your appearance, it's your clothes, and also how clothes have been gendered. You know, nothing is inherently gendered, but like in society, we point at things and do them. So you come through this chroma green of this canvas for projecting your reality or how you perceive reality onto the environment and yourself through this explosion of letting go of a body and transitioning. You go into this mirror cube with a periscope, with a screen that has a phone attached to the back. And this is the continuation of the piece that's here. Like the version that's been uploaded to the Creative Code Utrecht is it's the Instagram version, because that can only take 4 megabytes. So it's just a part of this piece that happens on people's faces. But when you're using the back camera in the filter that came out through on the Facebook actually option. So this is a QR code. If you're looking at the screen now, you can point your phone to it and hopefully it will just open up and you'll experience in the back camera. You have these sculptures that are sort of jiggling, and this ungendered, like gender ambiguous bodies with these biomorphic sculptures on them that echo another body of work that I have called 𝗏𝗍𝗃, or yeah, I think that's the name of it. So I need to, my memory is really bad right now. And anyway, so whenever you would catch a face in the space, with somebody else, the faces would start scrambling. So I always like to think about this aspect of how we are part of each other, and all our thinking is always sifting through, like nothing is disconnected. We are all connected. Every action that I do potentially can affect you, and vice versa. And pronouns appear, but on this piece, they rotate all the time. Every time you blink, it resets the rotation of them, because of reflecting this thing of when you're looking at people trying to gender, we're always like, we've been so conditioned to look and try to like collapse the wave function of somebody's full potential as existence into these boxes. So they're constantly rotating: she, they, he, him, she, her, they, them. And the phrases also appear, but this time you have many faces, and the more people that appear, the more the faces scramble more and more, and more faces appear, and there's kind of like explode around the space. And to the sculptures, when you're alone, if the camera catches the first face that appears, ends up in those gender ambiguous and ethereal sort of biomorphic, like infused in biomorphic shapes, sculptures that of bodies that are in the space, kind of floating around. Yeah, so this is what I brought as a piece here. But on the notes of what they were talking about, I thought it was really interesting when Anna mentioned, the blue tick, this verification, and also this, it also made me think of 𝗕𝗲𝗶𝗶𝗶𝗶, which is another exhibition I'm taking part of. There's a talk later on today, but it's in Portuguese. We're thinking about like how we're entering this space where we have to confirm that we are a human. And when I talk about deprogramming, I'm really talking about like avatar deprogramming is to bringing us back to being human, because I find so ironic when I say this, are you a robot or not? Because in society, we tend to operate within programs that I like to call malware, you know, white supremacist, cis heteronormative, patriarchal thinking, like capitalist classist is a mega program. It's a mega virus. And infects us through language largely. And language, I just don't mean what we speak, but how our body moves, the pictorial language that we communicate with. And it's ironic because like most of us, unfortunately at this point, are really operating like automata, or, you know, like a robot, like a bot. Because also we're so exhausted because capitalism and now platform capitalism, exhaustion, our amygdala is aroused, and therefore our prefrontal cortex, which Medina was talking about somebody that had it physically harmed. But we're also having this mental fog, even more now with the lockdown, but even before, from just the sheer fear for our survival in platform capitalism, intensifying that, which leaves us basically at the mercy of the programs that we have running in our subconscious. So with everything that I've been working with through filters, either more obvious, like the filter I talked about, across my practice, it doesn't matter if it's physical or if it's a digital material, if it's interplatform or not, I'm trying to find ways to hack into the subconscious, into the system, and find pathways to like kickstart this deprogramming thing. So with other pieces that happen in AR, I've been exploring boredom, like trying to create a space for boredom, for not thinking, for not consuming. So like really simple as well, like I have a toothpick on your nose that when you open your mouth, it spins, or, you know, and then more recently, like there's the piece that you curated, Zeba, with 𝗏𝗏𝗍𝗶, with 𝗦𝗽𝗲𝗏𝗶𝗶, where you're just like playing with the color and trying to get your face into focus, and there was a sound. So there's another piece called Attune, which is the same sculptures, by the way, that are involving the bodies on the piece that I just shown, that you can play, and it's like a synth for sound. So trying to ground people, because as we saw in Anna and Medina, the problems that we have are many, and and across the globe they come in different shapes. Some places have really hardcore situations, such as they described. I come from Brazil. What we have down there now with Bolsonaro is disheartening as well. There's so much, and so there's two things that I see that we need to do is like work on ourselves, you know, to get rid of these viruses, so self-scan and find them. And so with the practice, try to help that happen, but also we need to have energy to be able to find all this stuff. And so if we're not able to ground ourselves, if we're not able to have a moment also of escapism, or a moment to go into boredom, a moment to go into self-healing, to nurturing, to having a laugh, or just to like break out so we can catch our breath and keep on fighting, it's never going to work as well. So this is why I tend to do this like multi-pronged attack with my practice. So in short, that's it. I hope I haven't spoken for too long.
No, thank you, Sibeli. I was just there was just a few thoughts going and just kind of bringing me back to, I think, Rosa's work. So I think it'd be a good chance for Rosa to introduce just them.
Can I just say one last thing before that? Because I realized I did the dyslexic thing where I mentioned the blue tick and I never finished what it was. Or I can talk about it later after Rosa.
Yeah, let's
just
go
remind
back
me about blue tick and cyber warriors, because it's it's a really Thank you.
Thank you, Sibeli.
Thank you, Sibeli, and thank you also Creative Coding Utrecht and Zaiba for this event and giving good voices to people that need to have a voice, of course. Yeah, I had the beautiful chance to show some work in the pop-up gallery show that's gonna open this weekend, and I'll share some images of the prequel to that, actually. So my name is Rosa Menkman, I'm Dutch, and actually around a decade ago now, I organized an exhibition which was called Filtering Failure. And that was kind of about calibrating versus filtering. And what I like in Spellstock is that she's mentioning deprogramming. I'm also thinking about what it means to obfuscate or to blur versus sharpening. Because as you mentioned, Sibel, you say there is no specific aesthetic to queerness. Whereas in reality, these days, when we use filters, there is absolutely a norm. And so everything that falls out of the norm is kind of immediately already predefined queer almost, I find. So I agree with you that we want to believe, or we want to live in a society where there is no such filter or such an understanding. But in reality, I think that we live in a life where things are predefined queer already somehow from the standardization, and that's something that I look into. I wanted to put a few words to work. Sorry, I hear. Does somebody want to say something?
Oh no, sorry. I was just thinking about that idea of the sort of the recognized and the recognizable. I think probably just thinks that kind of, I guess, links to this idea of the sort of this norm that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No stress. I did want to go a little bit into the beginning of this filtering failure thought of mine that's quite old, so maybe it's no longer relevant, but I'd say in a culture that is continuously accelerating, filters have become really an important commodity. They are ubiquitous, but also without filters, things don't work. And in this sense, I'm talking very normative filtering, like filtering out the noise. This has become kind of normative towards also our image processing technologies already from the get-go. When we're talking about old image processing technologies, I would like to reference a text that I've written last year. It's called Behind White Shadows, and it's about all the normal Shirley cards, which are white Caucasian ladies that were used to calibrate our image processing technologies. I created a collection actually of this on my website. I just browsed quickly through it, but all these women have actually lost their name, but they've become the standards for not just what normative images or images of women look like, but also they are the standards on which our image technologies have been calibrated. So it's a group. In this case, I have quite a lot of them. This is Lena. She's in the Rainbow's End exhibition. There's a few others that I want to pull out. This is, for instance, the normal Kodak Shirley card. That's on which image processing technologies, the Kodak Gold, is only tested. So Caucasian ladies. We have, of course, the Everywhere Girl, Hannah Steller. These are all kind of women that have become very normal to our digital domains, but they have also standardized that. And so these are kind of where our expectations fail to consider compromises. And so what I would like to put forward is that a filter is always a way to make things work. You can take away your blemishes, you can make maybe your eyes bigger, but a lot of filters also compromise other options, such as maybe make your eyes smaller, or there's not a lot of softwares out there that can actually make yourself, I don't know, darker, not to say another skin tone darker, but you can only make your skin whiter and whiter and whiter. Why is that? So for me, it's very important to consider where this trade-off is, where is the compromise. And so in the work that I did with Rainbow's End is a second version on 365 Perfect, in which I use one of the most used image photo apps, with which you can make yourself beautiful, perfect. So you can see I took a photo of myself and I put the filter of beautifying myself many, many times. And that means I get extremely beautiful. The video that is on the website is me doing a Vocaloid song about this process. The works that are now gonna be shown in Rainbow's End are gonna not show my face. In this case, I'm gonna show a few of the most used ladies of image processing. And so they involve Lena. I already pointed her out. This is Lena. She's the basis for the JPEG compression, the most used compression of every day that is totally racist. And then there is 𝗙𝗵𝗃𝗍. 𝗙𝗵𝗃𝗍 is the Twitter bot that became, by machine learning, immediately racist. I think, yeah, quite hardcore piece of the collection. And then we also have one of my very favorites, 𝗦𝗽𝗲𝗵𝗿𝗀𝗹, and she is the death mask. She's also CPR Annie. She became, she's one of the earliest women that everybody knows, especially high society people. They have her on the walls still very often. Michael Jackson made a song about her even. Are You Alright, Annie, he sings. But nobody ever even knew her name. So she's become the image. She's one of those first female images, a deaf woman found on the banks of the Seine that was never identified, never asked if we could use her image, and that has become still a very pervasive, standardized image for female visage. So the questions that I'm putting out there are maybe a little bit implicit, but the question really is, if you want to pursue perfection, which is something that is often done through filtering, right? You filter out mistakes, but you also maybe filter out for a particular data set rather than over another. Maybe we want to go into the pursuit of failure just to understand where these compromises are. And so that's kind of a question that I would like to pose. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Rosa. I think that's going to be that's a lot of food for thought, and yeah, looking forward to discussing that a bit more in a bit. I think it'd be really nice now for Isabel to say hi and talk a bit about the work that you have at Rainbow's End and your practice in general. Yay.
Hello. I don't necessarily have a screen to share, though I would really like to introduce myself. My name is Sibeliu. I'm an Amsterdam-based designer and interactive artist, and I create filters for Instagram, Facebook, and also Snapchat. So the effect that you see here right now is called dandelion, and if you shake your head, you can actually like make the floaties go away. Yeah, so my work is very much focused on nature, repetitive patterns. They're called, what are they called? No, I'm confused now. So fractal patterns, sorry. I was, so it's really about fractal patterns and things that you see in nature that, you know, that are like, for example, like the ice. The ice is really, if you can go really focusing in on the ice flakes, and then it has like this type of pattern, and that's what really fascinates me in my work. I will also put up some other one, which is also actually on the Instagram account of Creative Coding Utrecht. Again, with a nature theme. And I think for me, what I find really, really refreshing and really nice is to see that in augmented reality, only 45% of the creators and developers are male. So this means that, well, I know that Facebook said that there's like 55% female or feminine I don't know exactly how to call it, but I think this is extremely important to me, definitely. And I think it's such a really nice new, thing, and to see really like not only men being present in a certain trade, even though it's a very, very tech heavy environment. But I think it's still just amazing to see how many creative people are stepping up and to see what's happening in this space. So yeah.
Unmute. Thank you. I mean, I think I think we're all kind of trying to understand what our position is with these tools that we've now had really, or that have been made really accessible to us. I think it's really interesting to see how you're all using these in very different ways. I know with Rosa, a slightly different angle, but yeah, I think it's been such a pleasure to hear you all talk, and I guess I'm trying to gather my thoughts in terms of I mean, I guess, there's a lot of you are speaking about this kind of idea of non-performance within these spaces. I think Rosa and also Sibeliu, and then I think and the cyber warrior aspects to the way that Anna and Medina are using these filters, really challenging subjects to try to sort of process. I think, I wonder if anyone would like to offer any questions. I think it would be good to, because we haven't got too much time now. We're sort of probably, so if there's anyone in the chat would like to pose any questions, or should we could go back to the blue verification tech, Sibeliu, that you mentioned is an interesting topic to discuss. I don't know if you'd like to come back to that.
Yeah, I'm happy to come back to that. And there's a bunch of things I've been taking notes here, and also the cyber warriors, because I think a lot about also strategies that we can use. Like this is like staple in practice, is like how to be like like showing it, like not revealing what's going on, but in trying to use the system to deliver what I want. Like, so physically this has manifested in like super luscious, seductive installations, but then like what the actual work, when it hits what it's talking about, then and you get the effect. And so I've been feeling like I work a lot like a cyber warrior, but I've been more like undercover agent. And in the way that I manipulate how I use several accounts from several platforms, migrate content from one to another, and then back, and even like coming into being closer with the Facebook team, which is something I really wanted from the day one when I was in the beta. And now like Isabel is also a part of the Sparky, our partner network. I really wanted something like that to happen, because all of these topics that we're discussing here, especially, bias in AI, for example, these are really important to go up to whoever is coding, whoever's at the top of the big tech, bring this awareness within. And so I really appreciate the variety of strategies, political and like strategies that are out there, from like micro to nano-political to overt to covert. And I feel like we really need all of us to be able to crack this code. And then what I found funny just with the blue tick verification is that like Avatar Perform, my Instagram account, is actually a performance piece, and suddenly it got verified. And I'm still like, I have so much trouble sometimes with that in my mind, because it's interesting for me for the piece that a performance piece and out like an alter ego of sorts, which is not exactly me, but it's everything that goes through that account, and just like the body as an avatar interface, whatever, getting a blue tick. but then how this really affects the day-to-day life and a career of an artist. And it just proposes so much trouble, actually. And like I was talking about platform capitalism and the fear of algorithmic death, and like the rush for engagement and all of these things that just lead to more exhaustion. I find that the blue tick that people covet so much, in one hand, okay, it can be good for your work, but at the same time, it doesn't excuse you from laboring after hours for big tech through engagement in order to make it work for you. So I just find that there are so many like fake carrots out there, you know, but they can be instrumentalized again, bringing them back to the cyber warrior situation.
But I think also that goes back to what you were saying about even like the file size that you're allowed to like upload to these platforms like Instagram and then Studio, and how that feels almost like you're these kind of like jumping through hoops as well, like you're saying, dangling the carrot that, you know, it's like that you have to adhere to. I just wanted
but I understand the megabyte. No, the megabyte I understand, because actually there they have some, you know, you can see it as good interest at heart, as they want to be inclusive, so that people with the crappiest, oldest phone can have access to augmented reality.
But then
But
also
on the other hand, it's a business plan. You know, you gotta get to as many people as you want. So there's ways of seeing, and then in between the ways of seeing and the possibilities of the platform and the limitations of the platform, then we jump through the hoops and we get our strategies out there. But I wanted to get back to something that Rosa
but also
was
the level
about.
of interactivity that you can have access to within those infrastructures as well. I think that's also what I meant by the sort of jumping through hoops as well, not just the file sizes, but I think that's really interesting comparison as well.
I mean, for art practice, like in talking about art and art practice, like out of the political realm, just the practicality of being an artist and dealing with materials and stuff, I came to find platforms and software to see it as a medium.
Yeah, it's a completely new discipline in its own right now, isn't it? With its own sort of praxis and semantics that exist around it.
Not only that, I mean, a medium and a material. So how you have acrylic paint and you have oil paint, and like acrylic paint will dry fast and oil paint will dry really slow. So there are certain things that I can do using Spark AR. Sorry, this is my phone telling me to stop working. Sorry. No, I put it on snooze. Oh gosh, no, let me switch it off. Okay, I think it's off now. Like Spark AR allows you to use like, for example, what I love, sound capabilities. There's a lot that you can do. And actually that what we're talking about now touches on what I wanted to bring back to Rosa, actually, on the possibilities, because like when we're talking filters, we're not just talking about filtering, we're talking about augmenting, we're talking about expanding, we're talking about XR, actually. It's not just, because there's a huge culture of beauty filters, and those are in the apps that exist. I'm familiar with Perfect 365, like I use that in my work as well. And I used to use that before I could make my own, like through Spark AR. But like, so the capabilities are quite endless, actually, once you are within the software that makes the app or makes the augmented reality pieces. Like Isabel can also talk to this, you know. It's like, it's not just making the eyes bigger, or, you know, you can make them smaller as well. But the question is, when we're talking about beauty filters, what I find super problematic is like, really, it makes it really evident the impact of white supremacy and the patriarchal gaze. Because yes, the filters that are out there within apps, of beautifying apps, they are making people whiter because of white supremacy. Because you know, we were made to believe that anything that's white, phenotypically white as a feature, is beautiful, right? And also the patriarchal gaze, because like, oh, making the face smaller, the big eyes, so like this constant search for the dough, like the infantilized femme and all of these things. So you end up with these aberrations, like you know, when you do the filter several times, like what Rosa's work shows, And just to the final point, and I'll be done speaking until everybody else has spoken about the queerness. When I'm talking about queer here, I'm not just, of course, queer comes from the strange, but I'm talking about queerness as in like from within. So you have two situations about aesthetics that are impending on bodies. So like, okay, in general, we can have gender, you know, what a cis or trans woman is supposed to look like, according to what we have so far. What a cis or trans man is supposed to look like. And now we're encountering another problem, which is like the aestheticization of the third, like turning non-binary and gender non-conforming into a third gender when it's meant to be a neither. And so we have like gender has no specific aesthetics as a reminder that there are cis women out there and trans women out there covered in hair and with beard and whatever else. And there are cis and trans men out there that have features that we came to understand as really feminine. And queerness has no specific aesthetics. It's more of a reminder to the queer community, to the LGBTQIA+, that like there is no right way to be gender non-conforming, to be non-binary, to be like, so ultimately it's all so abstract, and we just came to believe in these two boxes, and now somebody's making a third. So that's all I was really addressing. Thank you, I'm done speaking.
Thank you, Sibeliu.
Oh, and my pronouns are they and them. I got she'd, so please, thank you.
Thank you for making that clear. So I think, I mean, we're kind of sort of running a bit out of time. I don't know if there's anyone that would that has any questions directed to any of our panelists here today. Anna, would you like to go back to some or add something?
Yeah, I actually wanted to talk. Thank you for giving me some time. I know we're a bit late. I wanted to get back to this idea of giving voice, and I think it's very interesting in art. Has been this debate for ages about like how projects that attempt to give voice actually silence some other voices, and like what does it mean to give voice, or maybe it's like more about giving space. And I think it's very interesting with the facial filters, because I could see with my friends who are like in the same ambiguous political position as I am, who are like public intellectuals or artists, how the facial filters allow to give them a voice without implementing necessarily what they have to say with this platform. Like my friend today hosted a conference on the identity of Belarus, and he needed the filter not to be attacked by the government, and there were several other instances, like the activist in Moscow has been using the filters to allow to be present publicly. So it's very interesting how the facial filters have the potential of give face, if you know what I mean, rather than voice. And in that sense, I wanted also to bring my experience of, I made a deep fake of Putin now a year ago. And it was very interesting how in Russia there is like this insane obsession with the Putin's face. I mean, and like in other countries that talk about Russia, because Putin is such an insane, authoritarian, powerful figure, occupies so much symbolic space that his face becomes this like ultimate object that possesses so much symbolic power. So it was very interesting to use deepfake and to make Putin say the stuff I wanted to say, being anonymous, that I can embody Putin for a second, and I can make him say things that he would never address in real life, and how this facial filter is like how this subversion of your own identity allows to like trick this symbolic game and get a debt of like symbolic capital from like someone else. And what exact new power plays this bring into? Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
I think, Yeah, thank you for adding that. I was just making lots of it's like that whole idea of being able to I guess disguise the face, giving you face, add in face or add in voice, and is really, really interesting. And yeah, I mean, I think this idea of that sort of subversion of perhaps actually what it was, you know, how that fits into this kind of idea of collecting. Yeah, you mentioned that. I mean, there's a lot of things that you mentioned there. Yeah, I think that was a really good thing to add. I know, like Fabian was saying about, the idea of the sort of the deep fake as well, 𝗏𝗏 and the Volkov scandal, and Linda's just saying about trust. Yeah, and Rosa also points out this idea about trust. But it's almost like the things that these, you know, again, like sort of utilizing these tools for activism or using within these infrastructures or systems of power can actually create quite a lot of liberation as well. So I think that's a really good, it's a nice kind of thing to end on, perhaps. Yeah, so yeah, if there's was there something else you wanted to add, Anna, to that point?
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about trust, and I think trust in my approach to filters come from the experience of I would get in trouble myself with my filters, or my approach would be dysfunctional. So it's kind of like, you know, the golden standard for the money. Like I have my own standard of my own risk I'm taking by presenting online and still continuing talking stuff about politics, even though I'm not supposed to. So, yeah. Thank you for an amazing conversation.
Thank you for being here, and yeah, it's a privilege to have you all, and yeah, so yeah, thank you, Anna Medina. Yeah. So is there anything else that anyone else would like to add? If not, I would like to wrap up and say it's been a thoroughly enjoyable hour or so speaking to you all and seeing you all and being with you all and discussing, like, I think it's just for someone like me who has been quite fascinated with this kind of explosion of the accessibility of AR, not that AR that's been a new thing, but as a medium or discipline, just more about the accessibility that these platforms have given to artists and to use as an artistic medium. I think it's truly kind of like fascinating to see the different approaches that you all have, and yeah, it's been an honor to have you. And thank you to everyone that joined. And thank you to everyone that joined. Yeah, if anyone does want to follow up with any of the links, the links won't stay in the chat, so you'd have to copy and paste. And but if you do also want to have a look back at the panel, we'll also be presenting this in the theatre on the online hubs of the exhibition Rainbow's End. So yeah, a huge thank you to everybody, and yeah, hopefully see you soon.